Okay, this is a Chapter 18 test review, and it should be in your student notebook. So let's get started. Let's first talk about prime costs and conversion costs. Just some basic definitions, some basic ideas as to why are these important. Okay, a prime cost is direct materials. We're talking about a factory now that makes things. And another example of a prime cost is direct labor. Both of these things are costs that you're trying to always make sure that you're controlling. Let's take a look at Red Lobster, for example. Their prime costs are their food, their beverage, which would be direct materials, and their labor, which would be the cooks and the waitresses and waiters and so forth, so on. And in restaurant business, these two pieces, these two prime costs, usually make up 60% of sales, the cost of sales in most restaurants. So it's a very significant cost to keep control of. They're large and they're volatile, very volatile. They can go up and down quite a bit depending on how you are able to control them. And you always need a good prime cost control. So you need to make sure that you have that under control so you can end up with a good bottom line. So that's why prime costs are important, and how we're going to use a few minutes here to calculate them. Now next we're going to look at conversion cost. Conversion costs are direct labor and factory overhead, and included in factory overhead would be indirect material, indirect labor, and other fixed and variable overhead. So what you're doing is you're taking some direct materials and you're converting them into a finished product, and the way you convert them is you add direct labor and you add factory overhead. Now the conversion costs are something that companies are trying to control, and they're constantly asking the question, will our profits be higher if we do the conversion process or if we let somebody else do it? That is, if we outsource it. So that's something that if you have a good handle on conversion cost and can keep your quality up, you'd want to do it in-house. Otherwise, you're always looking at seeing if somebody else can do it better for you in terms of quality and price. Now, here's a little example of companies' costs versus their conversion costs, and you can see their conversion cost in this situation is 28% of their total cost of a product. Ford Motor Company, they make all kinds of things, and they're the #1 selling pickup truck in the world, and they are constantly asking the question, how much of this pickup truck should we make in-house and how much of it should we outsource? So they're making in-house most of it, and there's some parts of it that they don't make in-house, and the way they look at that is they look at what are our conversion costs to make it in-house versus if we paid somebody to make it outsource it. Now one of the things they don't make on this pickup truck, for example, are the tires. They let somebody else make those tires because they've determined that it's better to outsource that part of the truck, and there are other parts of the truck that they also don't make in-house. But anyway, now let's go to the calculations of prime cost and conversion cost. So our first question, number 1B, a company's prime cost totaled $4,671,000 and its conversion cost totaled $5,690,000. If direct materials are $2,209,000, then you calculate the overhead costs. Well, here's a little formula you need to set up. Prime costs equals direct material plus direct labor, and let's plug in what we know. Now remember, we're trying to calculate overhead costs, but let's go through this piece of it first. So our prime costs are given to us, $4,671,000, and direct material and direct labor, we can plug in what we know there, and we know that direct material, which was given to us, was $2,209,000. So the difference between our prime costs, which are given to us, and our direct material will be one piece that we need, which would be direct labor. So our direct labor is going to be the difference, which is $2,462,000. Remember, we're trying to calculate overhead cost. So now conversion costs equals direct labor plus overhead, and that's what we're really looking for there. But now we've got the first piece of this, which is direct labor. So did we have, let's see, and they gave us conversion cost up here. So we've got conversion cost, we now have direct labor, and we can figure out what overhead is by taking the difference. So we plug in the $5,690,000, and that equals the direct labor side, which is $2,462,000, and the difference here will be what we're looking for, which was to calculate the the overhead cost, which would be $3,228,000. Let's go on to 2B. This is we're switching topics now. We're going to calculate the cost of goods sold. Well, the cost of goods sold from this example of these accounts and their balances would be as follows. Take the beginning finished goods inventory plus the cost of goods manufactured minus the ending finished goods inventory, and that'll give you the cost of goods sold, which is what we're trying to calculate here. So the beginning finished goods inventory would be $72,300 from this list up here, and we're going to add to that the cost of goods manufactured, which is $246,300 right there, minus the ending finished goods, which is $68,300, and when you combine all that together, you get the cost of goods sold of $250,300. Let's look at 3B. 3B, we're supposed to use this data to calculate the cost of goods manufactured. The cost of goods manufactured is going to be the direct materials plus direct labor plus factory overhead plus beginning goods in process minus ending goods in process. So let's plug in those things. So first of all, we got to do a separate calculation for factory overhead. So that's going to be the factory overhead in this problem. And remember, anything going on inside the factory is one of three things. It's either direct material, direct labor, or overhead. And if it's not going on inside the factory, then it's not product cost. But let's see. In this example, we've got the following overhead items. We've got indirect labor of $6,500 right there. We've got indirect materials of $13,700 right there. We've got depreciation on the factory equipment of $7,700, so that piece right there. And now that all totals up to be factory overhead of $27,900. So we've got that piece now. So now let's look at direct materials of $40,700, which would be that piece right there, direct materials used, plus direct labor of $30,800, and that would be, let's see, that piece right there, plus the factory overhead we just calculated, which is $27,900, plus the beginning goods in process, which would be $7,400 right there, beginning goods in process, and then minus the ending goods in process of $9,200, which would be this right here. And when you combine all those pieces together, you get the cost of goods manufactured is going to be $97,600. Next question, number 4B from your handout. Calculate the cost of goods manufactured using the following information. And so let's put in our direct materials, which would be from the list there, plus our direct labor, plus our factory overhead costs, plus the goods in process January the 1st of $119,700, less the goods in process December 31st of $127,100, and all those pieces together give us a cost of goods manufactured of $690,700. Look at 6B. Calculate the cost of goods sold for the Wathen Company using the following information. Alright, so the cost of goods sold is, well, the first thing we've got to do is figure out the cost of goods manufactured. So it's going to be direct materials of $298,500 plus direct labor of $132,000 plus factory overhead cost of $264,000 plus the goods in process January 1st, which is beginning inventory, $118,500 right there, minus the goods in process December 31st, which is ending inventory, of $125,900, combine all those pieces together, you get the cost of goods manufactured is $687,100, and we're looking for the cost of goods sold. So the cost of goods sold is going to be the cost of goods manufactured plus the beginning finished goods inventory of $232,100 right there, minus the ending finished goods inventory of $238,700, and so the cost of goods sold is going to be $680,500. Number 7, determine the cost of goods manufactured for the current year. And so we're going to take this formula, direct material plus direct labor plus overhead plus beginning goods in process minus ending goods in process, and we've seen all this before, right, from the previous examples, as 6,800 plus 8,800 plus 6,900 plus the beginning finished goods of 4,800 minus the ending finished goods of 7,600, and we will get a cost of goods manufactured. Oh, by the way, material, labor, and overhead, when you add those three together, you get 22.5, and that is called total manufacturing costs. Anyway, the cost of goods manufactured is going to be $19,700 when you combine all those pieces together. Number 9B, what are the manufacturing costs incurred for the year? Manufacturing costs incurred for the year. Well, that will be what I just said from the previous slide, direct material used plus direct labor plus factory overhead. And that will be 14,000 plus 28,000 right here, direct labor, plus factory overhead is 7,000. Combine all three together, and the total manufacturing costs are going to be $49,000. Number 10, 10B, using the information below, what would total factory overhead costs be? Okay, it would be the indirect, we got to figure out, let's see, factory, okay, that will be indirect materials, indirect labor, and maintenance. Those pieces are the only factory overhead cost on here. Direct labor is not, and neither is, let's see, beginning raw materials. So it would be $1,700 for indirect materials, indirect labor is $4,700, and maintenance would be on the factory equipment would be $2,500. Combine those three and you get factory overhead of $8,900. Number 11B, what are the manufacturing costs added during the current year? All right, well, we're going to say that we're going to have raw materials used of 5,800 plus direct labor of 7,800 plus factory overhead of 5,900, and that would be the total manufacturing cost added during the year, which would be 19,500. Number 12B, the raw materials used in manufacturing during the year totaled $114,000. Raw material purchases during the year amounted to what? Okay, this is the idea. Beginning raw materials plus purchases minus ending raw materials equals raw materials used. From this, you plug in what you already know. So it says raw materials used was 114,000, so that goes right here, right? Raw material purchases, excuse me, yeah, beginning raw materials were right here, 53,000. Ending raw materials are 56,000, and we're looking for the amount of raw materials that were purchased, which is this piece right here. So that's what we're looking for, the purchases, and we combine this side together, and it looks like purchases minus $3,000. See how we got that? Purchases minus $3,000 equals $114,000, and so purchases must be 117,000, because 117 minus 3 would be 114. Number 14B. Let's see, we're looking for the ending goods in process inventory. If the goods in process beginning inventory is 10.6 and the cost of goods manufactured is 865,000, direct materials cost 336, direct labor cost 216,000, and overhead cost $321. Calculate the ending goods in process inventory. All right, this is the piece this is the formula we need. The cost of goods manufactured equals direct material plus direct labor plus overhead plus beginning goods in process minus ending goods in process, and we're looking for this piece. So we'll plug in all the pieces that we are given, and we'll solve for this ending goods in process piece that's unknown. So here's what's given to us. The cost of goods manufactured was given to us, $865,000. The direct materials were given to us, $336. The direct labor, $216, right there. The factory overhead, $321, right there. And the beginning goods in process of $10,600 right there. Combine all these things together, actually combine this side together, and you get $865,000 equals 873, which is all these pieces, plus 10.6. And so we can simplify that one more step. We can say that 865 equals 883, which are these two pieces together, minus something. And that something is going to be the difference between these two pieces right here, which is going to be ending goods in process of $18,600. Number 17, we're looking for total manufacturing costs for the period, and that would be beginning goods in process minus ending goods in process, and then we're going to also add, I should start over and say that it'd be the manufacturing cost plus the beginning goods in process minus the ending goods in process. So let's see what we're given here. We were given that the beginning goods in process were $6,300 right there. The ending goods in process was $16,300, and the cost of goods manufactured is $183,000. So we'll combine this side, and we get that manufacturing cost minus $10,000. You can see that's a minus $10,000 there, equals the cost of goods manufactured of $183,000. So something minus $10,000 equals $183, and that something is manufacturing cost, and it's going to be $193. Number 20, we want to know how much is gross profit. Well, gross profit is going to be sales, and it should be net sales, minus the cost of goods sold equals gross profit. So let's plug in what we know from this list up here. So there's sales of $1,394,000. The cost of goods sold is given to us also of $666. The difference between the two will be gross profit or gross margin, either one, of $728,000.